for the benefit of those that couldn't join us. Send out an announcement through the MI members and students course. This is our general communication place for all of our members and all of our students. This generally would go out to everyone as a email. What I've done is I've created a learning goals template, which we've put up as just a blog post to make it easy to find and download. All you need to do is click on download. For anyone else who's watching this, you can either go to that announcement in the MI members and students, which you'll find on your dashboard, or you can go to the Mediation Institute website, events and blog, and go to the blog. So it's one of the recent posts. There it is. Got a little, and you can, for anyone who's interested, I'm hosting a TED Circle on the later in January, which are really just a discussion type TED event around a TED talk. So anyone be welcome to join me. And while I'm here, just to let you know, we do a monthly update of what's been going on and what's coming forward in the next month. So a training update and also a membership update. So the blog's where we put those kind of general type things, but anything that's got links to student only access places, we do as an announcement out through the system. So I've used a TED talk about goal setting as a little bit of inspiration. As a TED talk, they're only really short. It'd be a really good thing if you do click on that link and go and have a look. Now, the problem that you, me, everyone has is fitting everything into our very busy lifestyles. With regards to your learning goals, it's really important to be clear about what you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it, and then breaking it down into manageable steps or milestones. I know when you go and have a look at all of the activities that are needed in the course, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Getting a bit of a game plan ahead of what you're planning to do in the next week or the next few weeks is going to really make a big difference. Yep. The video that I'd really like you to watch is about how to gain control of your free time. Really, I guess, using your values and your reason that you've made this commitment to your studies, to your own professional development, and really letting your brain know, hey, this is important. It's more important than the other things that are taking your time. I've just got a few of the key insights that I took from watching the video, but you might find some others. There's a spot on the template for you to record those insights, because we know that writing things down helps to embed them. One of the things that really stood out for me is about stop saying you don't have time for things. What we repeatedly say become our beliefs, and the beliefs define our boundaries of our reality. If you keep saying, I don't have time, maybe what it means is this isn't a priority, or that might be the meaning that your unconscious brain that's running most of what's going on might understand. Her example was she doesn't have time to dust her blinds, but if someone was going to pay her $100,000 to dust her blinds, they're going to get cleaned. Yeah. It's really reminding yourself of why this is important and making sure it is a priority. Another thing was the key to time management is to treat priorities as if they're urgent, because otherwise they get pushed aside. For an emergency, if it crops up, we'll drop everything and do it. The example she gave, a very busy person, her water heater broke. Suddenly she found 7 hours to get a water heater fixed that she wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. The same thing, treating our goals as if they really have to be done. The other thing is about making use of small windows of time and using those free moments, listening to an audio of a recording in the car on the way in, or looking at where can you do a little bit of progress on something, scheduling out. Now, this metaphor is that if you put in all the small stuff, all the little things that take your time, you won't possibly fit the big things. However, if you put the big things into your schedule and you block out time, then all of the other little things, they'll filter in and find space around them. I can attest to that. I've applied this theory to trying to get a tent back into the bag that they come with. If you put in that really fine fly cover and the pegs and the sticks first, there is no possible way in the world you can zip the thing up. But if you put in the big bit, the big tent bit first, then everything else will fit. So think of the rocks in the jar, or think of my struggles with my tent. What I'm asking you to do is make your studies a big rock. Make your studies something that you really want to achieve. Any comments or thoughts about that?
It makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And if we don't block out that space or make it a priority, the other things will absolutely fill up all your capacity. And it's not just the actual physical capacity, it's also the capacity in your brain and your heart. So it's making that space for you to achieve what it is you're wanting to achieve. What I really invite you to is write down your goal for this year. Your goal depends on your makeup, whether your goal is getting your certificate of completion, whether it's getting your registration number, whether it's working with your first client. It's however far beyond the thing of completing your course makes sense to you. Really working on visualizing what that is, because once again, that's another way of setting that anxiety in our brain to close the gap between now and what we're visualizing. We've got to work with our brains. We may as well use the capacity that's built in there with the hardware. One way is to write your performance review for 2021. Okay? End of the year, maybe kicking back after Christmas, whatever it is for you, pretend it's the date. You've had a great year, you've overcome whatever barriers and blocks have been in your way. What were some of the things that made it amazing? Whether it's you set up your regular study schedule, if there's a particular aspect of the course that you're finding difficult, you maybe set up a little study group with some others, or you dedicated yourself to practicing your question skills on everyone you managed to meet. The person at IGA knows you when you're coming because you're going to, whatever it is, that thing. We call it future pacing, and it's what all great athletes do. They imagine themselves executing perfectly, whatever it is. Studies have shown that there really isn't a huge amount of difference between vividly imagining something and actually doing it in terms of improving performance. Be like Tiger Woods in terms of his sport performance. I'm not suggesting in any other way.
I had to take myself off mute for that one.
We'll pick and choose what we emulate. Once you've done that, you'll find it a lot easier to write your goals. Use your vision to help you identify one or two your goal. It might be just a goal around the course. It might be a goal around, this might be part of a greater vision you've got for where you're going. For those of you that are near the end of your grad dip course, it's what have you done with that in the next year? So certainly don't think that learning goals are just about formal study. So a SMARTY goal. I like SMARTY goals. You might be familiar with SMART goals, so specific.
I've never seen the IE on the end of it.
It's about, once again, tapping into your brain. So inspirational. If you sit down and you look at your goal and you say, okay. If it doesn't make you excited, it's not the right goal. Because we know that emotion provides emotion. You definitely want it to be inspirational. If your inspiration for becoming a family dispute resolution practitioner or a mediator, maybe put a little bit of that into your goal about how you're going to help people or what it is that you're going to do. So you look at your goal and you feel excited and inspired, and the emotion. So once again, if you look at your goal and you like get that yuck feeling in your stomach, really take a few moments to think about what that is. Perfectly respectable SMART goal might be something that there's no possible way you're going to do because you feel bad about it every time you think about it. That's a problem. If you look at it and you feel bad about it because you're confused about the course or how to move through it, then one of your action steps will be booking in a session with me or one of the other mentors to really get your head around that. That's going to move you close to your goal. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So timed, always put a target date. Don't be frightened about putting a date on. Once again, It triggers your brain to think, oh, okay, I've got to do things to close the gap between now and that. It has a huge amount of power. From a more practical point of view, it's really programming your brain to give it a bit of a schedule and increasing the importance. All of this is about making you achieving your learning goals a big rock. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Cool. There's room for 2 goals. You might just want to focus on one, but you might have another goal that relates to your professional development and that you want to put in there as well. So feel free. I wouldn't recommend doing 10 learning goals. And one might be all you need or all you can think about. So some accountability support. Definitely read it out loud to yourself and with positive emotion. Once again, our emotions are how we lock things into our long-term memory and into our neurology. Things that don't have emotion can get forgotten really easily. If we're attaching emotion to it, it's another way of saying, this is important. I need to remember this. Sometimes people forget that for quite a long while, emotions were regarded as some sort of little biological appendix that aren't relevant.
Yeah.
Our understanding of the human psychology has moved on a lot from there. And we understand that emotions are a really important part of our survival and steering mechanism through the world. What I'm trying to do is get people that are a bit skeptical about this is just stop and think. Your family, share it with us, share it at tutorials, let us know how you're going with your milestones, let us know if you're having problems, if you're falling short of what you thought you might be able to do, so that we can help and make use of your resources to keep you accountable, but also to support. The next one is breaking your goals down into doable steps. So it can be a bit overwhelming, particularly if you're very busy, particularly if you're just starting the course and you have a look at the marks and there's, oh, all those things. Surely I don't have to do all those things, do I? Yep, you do. Some of them are learning activities and are quite small. So, you know, every single line item isn't the same drain and time cost. It's a graduate diploma for those on this course, and even for the national accreditation course, there's a big time commitment in real face-to-face role playing and practical aspects. So have a look at your goal. What can you achieve this month? We're halfway through the month as I'm recording this. Whatever time it is that you're watching this, month's convenient, lots of time. If something else makes sense to you, if your vision of you achieving your goal is the 23rd of the month, your months might go from the 22nd to the 23rd of each month. It doesn't really matter, but try and break it down into what do you think you can realistically achieve in this next month. You've got your goal, where you need to be and when by, then break it down into the time. If you're having trouble thinking, oh, is this even possible? Book in a time and we can have a look at it, look at whether it seems realistic. I've put a couple of things there. I've just started off a table, and in here you just put in things. To add new rows, you can just right click and click insert rows below, or you might like to highlight it and then do insert rows below. You can make as many rows as you need for when your target is. Well, milestone is just basically a mini goal. So it might be to get the theory part completed by whatever, and then you can have a look at, well, what's required for that. Or it might be to get a specific assessment that you've been procrastinating on done, and so on. Then you'll be able to come back and check where you're at, and then break it down into your weekly action steps. Try and have at least something that you're engaging with real people weekly. If you can't make it to any of the tutorials, if the times don't work, talk to us and we can set up an evening role play that works for you. Role plays are a great opportunity. You can be a role player or a mediator depending on where you are in your course, but we're happy to organise around specific time. But then if you do that, you have to make a commitment. You block that time out of your calendar. You're not available. This is important. If someone's going to give me $100,000 for getting this done, work out what you think your budget is for your new mediation part of your business. That's what doing this and getting qualified is worth to you, and probably a lot of non-financial benefits as well. Break it down. What are you going to get this week? Don't make it 10 things. Be realistic, but also make a commitment.
Yep.
Now, one of the problems that the flexibility that we offer has is that we don't give you extrinsic motivation. We're not saying you must do this or you're going to lose the course, you're going to be kicked out, and too bad, so sad, off you go, you've done your money. That's not how we operate. The downside of that is we're not pushing you in that way. So it's up to you to really make those priorities. You can use whatever calendar system you use. I suggest you integrate it into whatever you're doing, but you can also use the calendar in the course. You have your own private calendar. So you can put in due dates. So if you work out what your weekly tasks are, you can put in what it is that you're wanting to get done each week. In the video, please take a few moments to watch that video. They talk about having a regular time each week that you review your goal progress. That means that you're able to quickly establish a habit, but also quickly catch up if you're drifting away from what your intentions are. And it's really easy to do because you haven't got those penalties saying I'm going to lose marks or I'm going to be kicked out if I don't meet this deadline that Mediation Institute set for you, because we don't do that. Yeah, so schedule time for scheduling. That'll make it happen. And if you can't do it in work hours, do it in the evening. If you're a morning person like me, do it in the morning. Find a time when you're at your best and try and block that time in. And as I said, you can use the learning management system calendar. Now, if you really are saying, oh yeah, that's all great, that's fantastic, I don't have any time to do that, one tool is to do a time audit. For a couple of weeks, just audit where your time goes, like from when you wake up in the morning until you go to bed at night. And that might help you to identify that there's some options. Clockify's an electronic version. It's a free tool, quite an interesting tool. If you are good at time management and you don't think you need to do, that's fine. But if you're really struggling to find time in your day, and maybe having a detailed look at your day might help. Has anyone ever done a time audit?
No,
No. It's really interesting activity. I have. It shows me. I do a lot, but it also shows there's a lot of interruptions and there's certainly room for blocking things out, which is what I've been working on the last year or so of actually keeping spaces to do important things. And some of you might be familiar with that matrix of urgent and important. And often the important things that don't seem urgent just don't get done, even though they are the things that really make a difference in our businesses, our lives.
yeah.
But because they're not considered urgent, they just slip. So in some way, what I'm talking about is consciously, deliberately making important things urgent. And yeah, schedule in those important things. So once you've got the data, then you can look at what changes you can make. The one action, if you're someone who's prone to perfectionism, also known as procrastination, then you might find that just using a one action approach, so just one thing that you're going to do and get it done rather than spinning around it, can be a way to break that habit. One action, one concrete thing you're going to do before the next week to take you one step closer to those goals. We're probably writing them down. It would be one action. So maybe two actions, write them down and then come up with a step. Everyone should have access to this document. Probably watch the video, and it's just on TED. Is everyone familiar with TED Talks and the TED organization? It's just brilliant people from all around the world sharing their knowledge in very short focus talks and various other resources. It's also a great resource for your learning. For those that are watching the recording, with Mediation Institute, you can always contact us, come to the end of a role play and just say, hey, have you got a little bit of time, book it in ahead to try and get your plans in place over the next couple of weeks. Some have been with us. We love you, but you've been with us as a student for too long. We want to help you to be with us as a member. We're definitely a resource when you're thinking about achieving your goals and what resources. Don't be frightened to reach out.